welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic and a puzzle that has been recommended to the nines to us. This is called Too Many Arrows Spoil the Box, and it's by Tesseralis. And in fact, Tesseralis themselves emailed us last night to say we really should be taking a look at this one. And it had already been blessed blessed by our testers, and it was in our to-do list anyway, because we've had so many recommendations from brilliant solvers and setters saying we really have to do this on the channel. So there is something about this puzzle apparently that is amazing. And it presumably is to do with this middle box, which is very cluttered and has resulted in a pretty star shape in the middle of row 5, column 5 there. And there's a knight's move constraint today, so we're going to get all Magnus Carlsen on this puzzle any moment now. I will read you the rules in just a second or two. My first job today, though, is to say a very happy birthday to Bug. Now, Bug, I believe it's your birthday because your friends Moira and Jiva wrote to us and said that, they're very grateful to you because you introduced them to Cracking the Cryptic, and we're very grateful to you for that as well. And Bug, we hope you have an absolutely brilliant birthday with, of course, lots and lots of cake. In other news, there is a bonus video on the channel which we released this morning, which lots of you have been enjoying. It's a cryptic crossword video, and the puzzle that I solve in that video has a really, really clever hidden feature. I'm not going to spoil what it is, but if you have a chance and you like your cryptic crosswords, do have a go at that, and certainly check out the video. It really is, it's a stunning puzzle. On cryptic crosswords, Mark has released a cryptic crossword solve of his, which is a listener crossword solve. The listener crossword is a brutally difficult puzzle, and Mark has solved a recent one of those over on Patreon. So if you're a patron of the channel, you can find that there, along of course with the September monthly reward, and you've still got 14 days to solve that to be in with a chance of winning the competition. Now, the only other news I will mention is that, yesterday's video, by the way, what a puzzle that was. I dreamt about it yesterday. It was this Phistomefel puzzle where there were some lines in the grid that always had to, adjacent cells on the line had to add up to 10. It had the most beautiful idea behind it. But anyway, I asked in that video whether you guys wanted to see us solve some of the puzzles in our new free 500,000 subscriber special app, and the overwhelming feedback was yes. So we're going to schedule that soon, and if you haven't got that app, do download it. It's available on Steam, Android and App Store. It's completely free. It's got 23 puzzles by the great and the good of the Sudoku community, and you'll get a lot of hours of pleasure from it, no doubt. And all that said and done, let's get on with Too Many Arrows Spoil the Box and have a look at what Tesseralis has got in store for us here. Rules are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Digits along an arrow must sum to the digit in that arrow's circle. So if those squares were, tried to press a number, managed to press something else. There we go. If that's 4 and that's a 3, that would be a 7, because 4 plus 3 equals 7. You put the sum of the digits along the arrow in the circle and you're good to go. And then we've got the knight's move constraint, which says cells separated by a knight's move in chess cannot contain the same digit. So let's investigate the given number today. I get a given digit for once. So this 2 here would ordinarily be telling us that you couldn't have a 2 by normal Sudoku rules in any of those cells, because obviously these cells, if you had a 2 in any of these cells, there would be a second 2 either in this 3x3 box, in this row, or in this column. But if this was a chess knight, it could jump to this cell, this cell, this cell, this cell, this cell, and this cell, and therefore none of those blue cells there can contain a 2 in this puzzle. So imagine that square's a 1. That would be saying you can't have a 1 in any of those cells, because each of those, let's make those purple, each of those purple cells could jump to here by knight's move, and therefore none of these cells could be a 1. So hopefully that's clear. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. And now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And I can see something about this middle box actually, which is it looks like every arrow that reaches into the middle box is a 2-cell arrow. Yeah, they are. They're all 2-cell arrows. So we're not going to be allowed to put 9 on any of them. Because if we put 9 on any of them, by the time we add another digit to the 9, we're going to get a double-digit number. And that will break the rules of Sudoku. So it looks to me like that's got to be 9 straight away. And I get a digit within the first minute of the solve, which is a very unusual thing. Thank you, tesseralis. So now I've got... Right, that's also... Right, so where do we put 8 in this box now? That seems to be very restricted. You definitely can't put 8 in the middle of the grid, because then in order to keep all of these circles down to a single digit total, we're going to have a string of 1s in that septomino, which is just silly. So 8 doesn't go in the middle, which means 8 is in one of these cells, but wherever it goes, let's put it there, this cell has to be kept down to 9, so we're always going to have a 1 in the middle of the grid, wherever the 8 goes in that little septomino. So, was it a heptomino? I don't know if it's a septomino or a heptomino. These are the philosophical questions that we get to debate on Cracking the Cryptic. Probably there is no other place on the internet where that will be discussed today. Okay. So, right, what I can see now is that these circles are all different digits. And they are all of the numbers from 3 to 9, aren't they? Because these digits in our heptomino, I'm going to call it heptomino now, that heptomino contains 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And each of those digits has to have 1 added to it in order to get to those digits around the edge. So these digits around the edge must be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Which I don't know how to use that. I had a brief moment there where I considered the Phistomefel theorem, which is the theorem that says those digits in this ring are the same as these digits. But although I can prove that theorem and have done many times on the channel, I only do it where I can actually see a use for it, and these digits in the corners don't look to me like they're very interesting in terms of their arrows, although they do all have 1 arrow cell pointing into them. Okay, what on earth am I meant to do here then? It's going to be right, so let's try knight's moves then. Maybe it's knight's moves. 2 in the middle box is going to have to go into one of those cells. That's not enough. That's very far from being enough to be interesting. Alright, let's try 1 in some of these peripheral boxes. So this 1 can't go in any of those cells. 1 can't ever go in a circle, because we can't put half and half into these 2 cells. So 1 is in one of 3 positions in box 6, 3 positions in box 8. It's the same everywhere, but it's not. I don't think this is doing anything. So, okay. What is it then that I'm meant to be appreciating here? Sorry, I'm not spotting this yet. I can't think. I mean, I can see that those digits go into those squares in the central box, but there is no way of disambiguating that. Okay. Okay, let's actually have a look at that, because I just noticed something about this digit when I just painted that in. So it might be to do with the fact that these digits are different, because let's take this digit and ask where it goes in box 5, because this digit here, it's got to go in, it can't go in those cells because of the knight's move constraint, so it has to go in a corner. But that logic applies to that cell, and that cell as well. So these 4 cells here, we don't know where they go, but we do know they have to go in the corners of box 5. Now, the digit I was then wondering about was this one, because this one has to live in the middle box somewhere, but it cannot, because it's not the same. This digit is different from all of these digits. It's therefore not able to go in a blue square, and by knight's move it's not able to go in those 2 squares. So that digit, which cannot be a 1 because it's got to be at least a 3, has to go in one of those 2 cells. So one of these 2 squares is purple. So let's actually try and do this with colouring then. So this cell, which cannot be a blue square, must go in one of those cells. This square, I'll use green, has to be in one of these cells. And this cell will make yellow, has to be in one of those cells. Actually, so maybe I get rid of the grey flashes then. So now I know that 9 is either in green or it's in red. So it's in one of those 2, has to be a 9. Which means one of these 2 has to be an 8. And that means that can't be an 8. Because that an 8 there would see both of those cells. That can't be a 9. Well, we knew that's on an arrow. And it's got a 9 in its column. Sorry, I'm just looking for knight's move relationships. If that's a 9, that has to be... well, that's at least 3. Oh no, it's not. That cell, because 2 sees that cell, this is at least 4. And okay, here's something small. That's at least a 4, and this cell sees that one, so that's at least a 2, which means that this digit is at least a 6, which is better than I've done so far. So that digit is a 5, 6, 7, or 8. But I still don't know which of these actually is green. It could still... What am I missing here? So 2 is now in one of these 3 cells. 2 is not there. Or not here, sorry, to make this add up to 3. That's impossible. Oh, that is magnificent. Oh my goodness me. Oh, wow. Wow, tesseralis, take a bow. That is weird and wonderful. Good grief. Right. So let's abandon all this. Oh, I don't know why Alexa wants to talk. Alexa's very excited. But what I just thought then is, where does 2 go in the middle box? Now I know it's not here, so I know it's in one of those cells. Now that means that one of these coloured cells is a 3. But then we know that these coloured cells map onto these digits in the middle box, which means that one of these digits has to be a 4. because there must be a 3 in one of those cells. Now, if one of those digits is a 4, where does that 4 go in the middle box? Well, it goes onto a diagonal again, which means one of the coloured cells around one of these 4 corners has to be a 5. And that goes back into the middle box and forces one of the blue squares to be a 6. So it's completely, you can iterate it. And that's telling us that these cells have to be even. And these cells have to be odd. That is absolutely beautiful. I have never seen that before. And it is, I mean, it's completely gorgeous. So that means those squares have got to be 3, 5 and 7. Because they can't be 1 and 9. And we know that's not 2 from the logic we did before. And we know this isn't 4 because this can't be 5. So this digit is now 4 or 6 or 8. And it can't be 8. Look, this is important. This can't be 8 because then this would have to be a 1 to make this a 9. And it can't be a 1 because of the knight's move. So that's not 8, which means that's not 7. So this is 3 or 5. So if this is 5, that's 6. This has to be at least 2. We know that. So this would have to be 8 or 9. Which, okay. Hang on, so what's this telling us? Oh, I feel I'm right on the cusp of understanding this now. I've just got to think about this. So we know that all of the blue cells now have to be even digits. And none of these, because we're adding an odd digit to 1 to get to these cells, and none of them can be 2. So this is 4, 6 and 8. And I suppose they all have to be different because they have to go into different cells in the middle box. Sorry, I'm not quite getting this now. Can I use the fact that there has to be a 7 in one of those cells, which is... Yeah, oh no I can't, no sorry, because these are between them, they are yellow, green and purple, which are those cells, so all I know is there's a 7 in one of those, and there isn't a 7 in red. Oh okay, so if that's not able to be 7, then that's not able to be 6, which means there's a 6 in one of these 3. Oh, that's just the same logic, that's just telling us there's a 7 over here again. Okay. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That must mean... Ah, that digit I've just realised is 7 or 9 now. Yes, okay, because I've got to add an even digit to 1 to get to this digit. So so that digit's odd. I'm adding, yes, okay, I'm adding it. I've got an even number here, I've got an odd number here, so that's got to be odd, and it's not 1. So that's 3, 5, it can't be 7. It can't be 7, because if this is 7 plus 3 a minimum, that's 10. So this is 3 or 5, so is it the same as this? Oh, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Oh, it is. Oh, that's oh, this is beautiful. This is just beautiful. Okay, so let me just let's just highlight this cell for a moment. I haven't used orange, I don't think, in the grid. So where does this digit go in this box is the question I want to ask. Well, it can't go there, that's a 9, and it can't go in one of these even cells, and it's not 1. So it has to be in one of these 3 cells. But could it go here? Well, no, because we know this cell is either yellow or green, both of which are in its column already. So it definitely doesn't go here. And it doesn't go there because that's in its row. So it does go here. Oh, let's give it. That's it. This is just lovely. So what? Yeah, okay. So these digits I've now proved are the same. I'll just label them with a letter to indicate that, because like that. These are the same. Because I don't know yet whether this digit is red or purple, so I don't really want to. I suppose I could make it red or purple, but we know for certain it's the same as this. Now, what would happen if this was 5? If this is 5, then that's 5 as well. So we get 6 here plus 5 equals 11. Well, that won't work, so it's got to be double 3, which means that this has to be 4 and that has to be 7 through the medium of mathematics. And now that means that these are not 3. I still don't think it tells me. Oh, it tells me this is 7, and that yeah, okay, it tells me green is 7, and that could have been green before, but it's obviously not. 7 and 9 are not the same digit, so that must be 7, which means that must be 8, which means that must be the other odd number, which is 5, which means that must be 6. That must be 6, because 1 plus 6 equals 7. So neither of those are 6. And we now know that because this is not green, this must be red, which is that one. So that must be 9, which means that must be 8, which means I've got a 2-4 pair at the top. And these two squares have got to be 3 and 5 in some order. And that one can't be 3, apparently, because it sees 3 by the medium of knight's move. So that's 5, that's 3, that's 2, that's 4. There we go. And let's just pause there just to admire what tesseralis has done there, because that is, well, it's genius setting. It is absolutely gorgeous. That arrow's a 1-2 pair now. There's a 2 in the row, so that's a 2. That's a 1. That cell's got to be at least a 3 now. It can't be 4. Can it be 5? Maybe. Can it be 6? Maybe. Okay. So that's 3, 5, or 6. It can't be 7, look, and it can't be 8. That digit is at least a 2, so this digit is, hang on, what's that digit? That's at least a 5, and it can't be 5, 6, oh, hang on, I've broken this. No, actually I haven't broken it, sorry. What we can see that from the options along this arrow, this is at least a 5. Well, it can't be 5, 6, 7 by knight's move, 8, so it must be 9, and that means this square is going to have to be either 3, 6, or 4 to operate with that one. It's not 3 or 4. So that's 6. That's 3, I think. So let's have a look at this row now, where I need 2, 5, and 9. So that's a naked single. That's a 5. It can't be 2 or 9. And that's a 2, 9 pair. And we can't put 9 on the arrow, so that's 2. That's 9. That 5 arrow can't have a 2 on it, so that's a 1, 4 pair, which I can do. I tell you what, I will absolutely love it. I will love this puzzle even more if it now sort of collapses, because where does 1 go in this box? It's got to go on the arrow because it can't go in the circle. Because, you know, this puzzle to me should be all about demonstrating this wonderful idea. So if tesseralis has managed to just protect that idea with whatever else is in the grid, that would be quite wonderful. 1, 2, 4, and 7. Right, there's a 2, 4 pair needed in this row, so they've got to go there. And there's a 2 here, so the 2 can only go there. The 4 must go here. This has got to be a 1 and a 7, which must go in that order. Therefore, that's got to be a 5. Checking whether these 5s see each other by knight's move. I think we're okay. 6 can't go there, so that's 6, that's 8. There's something awfully regular about this, isn't there? 1 can't go there, so that's 1, that's 7. So 1 is down in one of these two cells. If 1 was here, this would be 8. Which, that might be possible. Where should we look now? What about that 7 arrow? It can't be, it can't be 3, 4, it can't be 2, 5. That's got to be 1, 6. There's a 1 there. So that's 1, that's 6. This column needs 2, 3 and 8. That's got to be an 8. It sees a 2 and a 3. So we've got a 2 and a 3 at the top and bottom of column 8. And I've still got some arrows, look, that I haven't looked into yet. That digit cannot be 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. So that's at least, or 6. It's at least 7. So it's got to be 7 or 8. That's got to be 8 or 9. And I'm sure that's resolved somehow, some way. Let's think about this. How do we do that? I don't know. Okay, maybe we check this digit then to see what this arrow is telling us. We need this to be a 1, 2, 5 or 6. It can't be 6. So it's 1, 2 or 5 by Sudoku. And therefore this digit, to make the arrow work, is 4, 7 or 8. And it can't be 4 actually. So that can't be 5. So this is now down to 1 or 2. And this is down to 7 or 8. Sort of feels like that should be resolved, doesn't it? But 1 is poking in there by Knight's Move. So the 1 goes onto the arrow in box 8, which, that does it. Okay, so we get the 1 and the 8 through the medium of Knight's Move madness. And now this column has got to have 2, 5 and 6 on it, and the 2 therefore must be at the bottom. So this is a 5, 6 pair. I'm just looking to see whether anything's poking in to sort that out. 2 is in one of those 2 cells, I want to say. That doesn't look like it's resolved. Let's check this digit then. That's got to be 3, 4, 7 or 8, and it can't be 8, so 3, 4 or 7. And that actually, it can't be 7 because that would be 8 and it would see those 2 8s. So this is 3 or 4, which means this is 4 or 5. Oh no, it's not working now. Alright, let's try this column. We need 4, 6 and 7. There's a 6 and a 7 there, so that's a 4. And there's a 6 at the top there, so that's 6, that's 7. It doesn't resolve this arrow, but we now know what those digits are. They're 4, 8 and 9. And there's a 4 in that row already, and that cell sees nothing. Okay, so what are those? 3, 5 and 7. That sees 7. And 5 by Knight's Move. So we've now got this down to being... So maybe this row is where we go now? Where we need 2, 5 and 8. Well, that must be a 5. It sees 2 and 8 in its column. And this sees 8 by Knight's Move. So that's got to be 2, which means that's got to be 8. So this column now, we need 2, 6 and 9. There's a 6 down there, so the 6 goes up to the top, which fixes the 6 and the 5. 2 sees that cell, so that's got to be 2. That's got to be 9. 9 in the middle, well, does that get... No, I can't see which of those is 9, actually. There's probably a way of telling, but I can't see what it is. That's got to be 3 now, so that's got to be 2. These squares have got to be 3, 7 and 9. That sees 3 and 9 by Knight's Move, so that's 7. This is a 3, 9 pair. That's got to be a 4... What am I missing there? 4, 5 pair. Something must do this by Knight's Move, or else we're going to get stuck. What about... Oh, 5 here makes that a 4. That's probably it. 4 and 3 go into the grid. So 4 and 5 go into the grid. So 5 and 7 go into the grid. So 7 and 9 go into the grid. And that's got to be 8 by that, which makes that 7, that 8 by maths. So this is 3, 4 or 9, and it sees 3 and 9 in the column. So it's actually 4, which makes this 9, this 8, this 4, that 9. Should use the number pad really, but never have learned to do it. That's got to be 9, that's got to be 6. And if I haven't made a mistake, that's a 5 and that's a 3. and that is absolutely brilliant. Tesseralis, I loved that. I mean, it's so rare. We've done so many puzzles on the channel. This Maverick gives you a flyby as well. We've done so many puzzles on the channel that to see something completely original is really unusual. And yet this was. You iterate the two and it proves the sort of parity of the middle box. And that then then I used that. There may have been other ways of disambiguating it after that, but anyway, I used that, and I actually loved using that because you could prove that this needed to be the same as this, which actually was lovely, because then this became a sort of sequence of Kropki dots with quite a big number in the middle of them. Absolutely brilliant. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I do enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.